And, you know, ironically, for two people who favor stricter immigration laws, the Romney-Perry fight has turned into something of a telenovela, if you will, a very heated personal battle with issues of honor at stake. And there's no better way to judge its current tone than by the ads the two sides have produced, like Jim was just talking about. For instance, let's go ahead and take a look at this one from the Romney camp.
But the fact is, Americans understand faith.
Rick Perry plunging in the polls, rolling the dice.
He would just calm down. He seemed very agitated.
For more on the soap opera that is the Romney-Perry battle, we turn to GOP strategist Karen Nessel. Karen, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here.
You know, there were 7 candidates at the last debate, not including John Huntsman, yet there's an inference to be made from Romney's new quick kill strategy, which is that they see this as a two-person race now. What do you think? Do you believe that that's where we are right now?
Well, clearly there are still several other candidates in the race, and Herman Cain shouldn't be counted out. But I think your previous guest, Jim, actually laid it out quite well. It's a little bit about the money game at this point and the ability to support an infrastructure. And Herman Cain hasn't really shown that he has that kind of infrastructure that's ready to be long-term and can go the distance, you know, into next spring in terms of a national campaign.
Also joining us, former DNC Communications Director and MSNBC political analyst Karen Finney, who I want to get into the conversation. Karen, it's nice to see you. You know, Romney's used Rick Perry's debate stumbles to frame Perry. So, I mean, what do you think? What does that mean for Perry? How do you think he should do this for Romney?
Well, I guess, you know, Perry is clearly trying to outline his argument against Romney, using the flip-flop argument, using the illegal immigration and as a specific issue in particular. You know, here's the problem. There's not anything new in any of the things that Perry thus far has put forward. I mean, these are issues that Romney has already had to confront and deal with, and so he's fairly prepared to handle them again. I think the issue for Perry is it's very clear, you know, that he is good on the attack, but what does he stand for? What ideas is he putting forward? And this latest, you know, ridiculousness of sort of reigniting the whole birther controversy really shows that he just doesn't have much of his own in terms of fresh ideas or policy proposals that he can campaign on, only campaigning against Mitt Romney.
Right, and for those of you who might not be that familiar with the whole birther issue coming back into the spotlight, we're going to throw up a couple of graphics so that you can take a look at the conversation. Rick Perry was interviewed by Parade magazine, and the interviewer is asking him, Governor, do you believe that President Barack Obama was born in the U.S.? Perry saying, I have no reason to think otherwise. He goes on to say that he had dinner with Donald Trump the other night, and, you know, the issue came up again, and never really did he answer yes or no. Does he believe that Barack Obama is a citizen? You know, he's saying, I don't have any idea. It doesn't matter. He's a president of the United States. He's elected. It's a distractive issue. When asked whether or not he's seen his birth certificate, but then not really answering the question, not really ever saying that no, you know, he doesn't believe that the president isn't a citizen either way. Karen Nessel, I mean, come on, is this 2008 all over again? Why are we bringing this issue up?
Well, I agree. It's a little bit ridiculous. And I think there's some breathlessness here giving Governor Perry a little too much credit. I didn't take this as him reopening this issue. I took this as inexperience on the part of the candidate, not knowing when to shut up. And he went on and said a little too much, got himself into trouble with this reporter. I would like to ask the question, why did the reporter bring it up? But I saw this as a moment of inexperience, and Rick Perry has shown that that's a real problem for him. I don't think he's had the kind of interaction with the media in Texas the way he's having it now as a national candidate, and he just doesn't have the experience that Mitt Romney has in this regard.
But, you know, there's another problem, though, with this comment. I mean, two things. Number one, Rick Perry has, at this point, pretty much gotten a pass on questions that were raised about that ranch that was called, you know, the N-word rock, which was followed up by a New York Times story that raised some questions about certain terminology that he grew up around. And then here we have this. So, you know, there is an element of racism that I think if he becomes a serious candidate, which I think every day he becomes less of a serious candidate, he really has to answer. I'd also want to ask him, because I agree with Karen, it is a sign of inexperience, but the birthers are now going after Marco Rubio and Bobby Jindal. Does he want to see their birth certificates as well? I mean, you know, he's got to be careful when you throw around this kind of terminology that there is a much bigger Pandora's box that gets open when you do that.
All right, we're going to have to leave the conversation there, but obviously a lot more to discuss. Karen Finney and Karen Nussel, two Karens. It's always nice to see you. Thank you both.